Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of my Dark Avengers comic book review. And before we get into the comic books and news from this week's worth of comic books, which came out February 10th of 2010, first and foremost, I would like to thank YouTube for giving me the opportunity to upload videos longer than 10 minutes. YouTube last week selected my page and I'm sure they selected other pages as well, and gave me, after I agreed, which I did, the right to upload videos longer than 10 minutes. Basically, my videos are allowed to be uploaded no matter how long. Basically, I have an unlimited time limit, but I'm not going to push to like 30, 40 minutes anyway. So all my comic book review videos from now on will be all one part, straight through, and I hope that YouTube, after seeing whoever they gave the trial to, seeing that it works, will give it to everyone else. But I would still like to thank YouTube for giving me this opportunity so that I don't have to worry about parting my episodes off and you guys can just enjoy the whole episode in one straight run. I think that is the best thing YouTube could do right now to give the community something more, because parting things is a pain in the butt. But anyway, let's get into the comic books this week. Before getting into this week's, I would like to bring up a comic book that came out 2 weeks ago. Teen Titans number 79. I will be jumping back into Teen Titans now that Superboy is rejoining the team. For those of you like me who are going to come back to Teen Titans because Superboy is coming back, do not pick this issue up. Superboy is not slated to be coming back to the Teen Titans until, I believe, Teen Titans number 81, after this story arc. I figured I'd pick this up just to jump back into the series, see what's going on, get a feel for things again. Basically, Cassie is now the leader of the Teen Titans. Victor Stone is no longer leader of the Teen Titans. He's working with either the Titans or the Justice League of America or somewhere. So the Teen Titans now run, the leader is Cassie. Beast Boy returned to the Teen Titans. And where this story takes up is Static X, or Static Goes Home. And it's a very short story. Basically, the second feature of the Avenger takes up most of the comic book, and also, of course, the stupid Doc Savage. So you're paying $4 for basically literally nothing in this issue. So I say skip the next one. If you're waiting for Superboy to come back, wait for the actual issue where he comes back, which is going to be 81. If I'm wrong, I will correct myself later on down the line. Okay, next comic book. Now, these are all from the week of the 10th. The Amazing Spider-Man number 620, concluding Mysterio's run on the Gauntlet. Spider-Man finally gets his hands on Mysterio, who is the puppet master to Silvermane. The artwork is acceptable. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. Electro still stands as the worst artwork I've seen thus far in the Gauntlet. Basically, Spider-Man kicks Mysterio's butt, foils all of his plans, and Mysterio gets away, of course. And then the Chameleon approaches Mysterio about Kraven, and that's where they leave off. The next issue involves Black Cat. I'm guessing she's going to be the mediator between Mysterio and the Vulture or Lizard. I believe the next one is the Lizard, as far as the Gauntlet goes. That's what I believe. I could be wrong. Mr. Negative also is going to be making an appearance in the next comic also. You could skip Mysterio part of the Gauntlet. It was lackluster. The best part was this part where Spider-Man actually got his hands on Mysterio, and it still wasn't that good. Okay, getting into something a little bit better. Ultimate Comics Armor Wars, Part 4 of 4. Man, I'm starting to call these things too well. Okay, the girl Tony Stark has been working with, Justine Hammer, it turns out in the end, towards the end, it turns out that I should call these things by now. I called it actually back in issue 2. She's so close to Tony, their boyfriend and girlfriend. She's going to stay with him forever. Turns out she's working for the bad guys. And Tony Stark finds out towards the end. And turns out the bad guy is his grandpa, who wants technology, who wants to steal his ideas and technology. I don't want to give away too much for you guys who haven't read it yet. But basically, in the end, he wants to know what's in that box that Ghost stole way back in issue 1. Tony says, you really don't want to look, you don't want to see what's in there, it's nothing important. He insists. Tony opens the box. Turns out to be a disembodied head of a different universe. I believe 424, he said, him. And in the helmet, there's a technology that basically has a self-defense mechanism, and it shuts down all machines and stuff like that. Basically, he was the only one safe in the room. Everybody else died. His grandfather, Justine, and all the other machines that were holding him captive. And in the end, you see him drinking, saying he saved the world from himself, and oh my god. So I'm guessing next time we see Tony Stark will be in the Ultimate Avengers comic, which is good. It'd be good to see him back on the Avengers team, and maybe they're making Tony Stark a mess in the Ultimate Universe. Hopefully they'll fix him up. It was a pretty sad ending. I mean, it was a... I wish I could say it was a happy ending, but it wasn't exactly a happy ending. It was kind of a sad, lonely ending. But anyway, moving along. Action Comics 886. Don't pick it up. Don't waste your time. Thank you, God. The new Krypton storyline's over. All we have left is the War of the Supermen and Superman Brainiac. Oh my god. I cannot wait for this entire new Krypton shit to end and Superman to be back in his titles and everything to be back to normal, because this is not normal, my friends. This is not normal. Superman comics, as far as action and Superman, have not been really enjoyable for a pretty long time. In this comic, though, you do get to see the Sun God Rao, who is it's medium interesting. It's no Superman, of course, and of course it's Nightwing and Flamebird. Up to you, but I'll be honest with you guys. Wait till towards the end of this year when Superman gets his titles back and New Krypton is nothing but a memory, because Jesus Christ, terrible. Okay, another good one, not new, of course it's new, another good comic. Ultimate Comics Spider-Man number 7. Aunt May is starting her own freaking superhero club or something. You got the X-Men, well, you know the lineup already, I'm not going to repeat myself from the last issue. So basically, Rick Jones, you guys who know the Hulk know who Rick Jones is, he gets powers from the Watcher. This is from way back before even Ultimatum happened. And he's cursed with these powers. And of course he lives right across the street from Pete and everyone else. And Aunt May sends them out to help him. And it basically ends up where Johnny Storm says, you're the one, you're going to save us, or you're going to save the future. And it's to be continued. It's going to be a 2-part arc. So the next part will be the last part. The artwork could, like I said, the artwork needs to be improved. I'm still enjoying it though. They really changed the way Iceman looks. At least this artist changed the way Iceman looked, and it's not good. He looks like Spike. He looks like Spike with Iceman's powers. Needs fixing. Definitely needs fixing. But it's a good read. I would definitely pick it up. It's one of the only few good comics this week. Booster Gold number 29, continuing with the Cyborg Superman story arc. I don't want to give too much away. Basically, it ends where Coast City is going to explode. Let me save you. Cyborg Superman makes an appearance. It's so good to see Dan Jurgens writing and artwork back in Booster Gold. Unfortunately, it has been announced in May that the writing and art for Booster Gold will change hands. Dan Jurgens will no longer be doing Booster Gold. So once that happens, I will pick up the next issue of Booster Gold. If it sucks, like I'm predicting it will, not to mention the fact that Dan Jurgens' artwork really spoils me, I probably will no longer be picking up Booster Gold. But for the time being, Dan Jurgens is in Booster Gold. He'll be with Booster Gold for another 2 months. I will continue to pick up Booster Gold until then, or until I feel that the stories have gotten retarded. Usually when things change hands, they either change hands and get better, or they change hands and get worse. So I'm keeping my hopes up. But just in case, letting you guys know in advance that Dan Jurgens is leaving Booster Gold very, very soon. Okay, and now, quite arguably, the best comic book title of the week. Adventure Comics number 7, Blackest Night tie-in. You got Black Lantern Superboy. Okay, Superboy has all of Superman's powers now except one. And once I mention this, you know what's going to happen in this comic. He has all Superman's powers except one. Freeze breath, which he gets in this issue. And he makes a funny quote where he says, the Black Lantern Superboy knows how to control my body better than myself. For those of you who did not read the Final Crisis where they brought Superboy back, it's all answered in this comic book. They go to the Fortress of Solitude, and to get the ring off of Superboy, they dig up the dead Superboy's body, who is not going to be revived for another 1,000 years. They dig him up, and the Black Ring leaves the living Superboy to go to the dead Superboy. Okay, guys, stick with me. Stick with me. You have to read the comic. It's the best of the week. Come on. Anyway, But beside the point, it leaves the living Superboy. Superboy freezes it, throws the ring out, puts his dead body back in the chrysalis to be revived in 1,000 years. Time is set straight. To be continued in the final issue of Blackest Night, which number 7 didn't even come out yet. So where this leaves off, you're going to have to wait till next month's Blackest Night to see what happens next. So I'm guessing in Blackest Night number 7, Superboy will still be a Black Lantern, if he even makes an appearance in Blackest Night number 7, which I'm doubting. Blackest Night is still the best series out there. Coming in a close second, of course, is Siege. So giving you guys a quick rundown one more time. This is really cool how I'm doing this all in one video. Adventure Comics number 7. Definitely pick it up. It's a good read. Booster Gold number 29. Once again, good read. I'm enjoying it. Involves Cyborg, Superman. Why not? Pick it up. Ultimate Comics Spider-Man 7. It's good. The artwork needs improvement, but I still would pick it up. Action Comics number 886. Please, my God, leave Superman alone for at least another few months. Armor Wars 404 Ultimate Comics. If you've been picking it up, pick it up. It's a pretty good miniseries. It's a sad ending, though. Amazing Spider-Man number 620. My God, the way they're treating Spider-Man is ridiculous. I wouldn't pick it up. Teen Titans 79. Don't pick it up. Wait for Superboy to come back in 2 more issues. Okay, with that, now we go into the news. Okay, first and foremost, Brightest Day. The as Pete from Pete's Basement, which you should be watching, calls it, the clusterfuck that will be taking place after Blackest Night. It has been announced that this poster has been announced, and it's going to be part of one of the 2 first covers. I don't know if it's going to be a variant or not, but basically it is going to be a cover. They are bringing Aquaman back to life. You see on the bottom his Black Lantern form, and then on top his human form. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're bringing him back for the Brightest Day. So Aquaman's coming back to life. My opinion on DC Comics' Brightest Day is, from what I see from the solicitations in May, Brightest Day is going to involve so many titles, it is going to cost you guys, or anyone who wants to get a complete collection of Brightest Day, a nice pocket full of money to get each and every issue, because every issue is going to have a tie-in to Brightest Day. You're going to have Flash tying in, the new Flash comics that are coming out tying into Brightest Day. You're going to have the Green Lantern and Green Lantern Corps tying into Brightest Day. You're going to have Aquaman, or you're going to have the Brightest Day series, the bi-weekly one that's going to come out 26 parts, 2 parts a month. You're going to have, I believe, Superboy is going to be tied into a Brightest Day. I don't think Superman is. Batman probably is after he's going to be brought back to life. But his series is coming up in May also, where Batman's going to be trapped in time coming back to the present day. DC Comics has, other than Brightest Day and Batman's Return, that's about all DC Comics has going on right now. But Brightest Day is going to reach out to a lot of titles. So for you guys who want to get each and every title that involves Brightest Day, my advice, start saving your money now, because it's going to be a shitload of money. And don't expect to see every single tie-in to Brightest Day on my comic review. I just do not have the finances to supply myself with each and every comic book that will be coming out for Brightest Day. Not to mention, I really don't like Aquaman, so you're not going to be seeing Aquaman if he makes his own comic book again. Okay, moving into Marvel. I don't know how I missed 2 of these posters, but more on X-Men Second Coming. In this picture, one of these X-Men will make a sacrifice, as far as the poster says. The poster basically says it all. Okay, and then we got this one where one will rise, either the good side or the bad side. And then I'll show you guys the latest one I got. And this is the latest one. All will unite. Who didn't see this coming? All the X-Men will unite. Okay. Alright. Now that we're into Marvel, we can talk about Marvel. Okay, we have Siege going on right now, guys, right? After Siege, we have this going on with the X-Men Second Coming, starting in March. Second Coming is going to take place in, I believe, Uncanny X-Men, X-Men Forever, X-Force, X-Force, and Lord knows what other X-Men titles. I really did not go in depth because, guys, I only collect Uncanny and Astonishing. And I was going to start X-Force, but too much is going on right now with X-Force. Actually, yeah, it is going to involve X-Force because the costumes in this are all X-Force costumes. As you can see, Wolverine's in his X-Force attire, and most of these people are from X-Force. So anyway, this is one of the big events going on. Now, on top of X-Men Second Comings, you got in May, the solicitations for May, you're going to have the Heroic Age starting. Now, here's where DC is going to screw, here's where Marvel is going to screw all of its fans right in the ass. Not only will you have the big event, X-Men Second Coming, you still have what's going on with the Hulk, which I believe nobody's really buying. You have X-Men now that are going to add on. And now you have the Heroic Age starting where there's like, I was looking down the list, there's like 12 different Heroic Age titles. You got Heroic Age #1. You have X-Men Second Coming. You have Revelation. You have two new Avenger titles coming out, Secret and Standard Avengers. You have Hero, HER-O starting up. Astonishing Wolverine and Spider-Man. I believe they're calling it an ongoing series. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I don't know if it's a limited series or an ongoing series, but it's going to be called Astonishing Wolverine and Spider-Man. #1 is coming out in May. Marvel is basically, after doing a huge event like Siege, taking that event and prospering by making several smaller events in each book. You got the X-Men event going on that's going to reach out to all the X-Men books. You have the Avengers coming back with their 2 books. Spider-Man is coming out with Peter Parker is coming back, and the kids' book Spider-Man is coming back as well. I believe it's Marvel. Yeah, Marvel Adventures, but they're taking off Marvel Adventures. They're just calling it Spider-Man. And Spider-Man is not doing too well right now. Okay, then you have, like I said, the Hulk thing that's going on, which is going into another huge event in the Hulk. Marvel Comics is making so many different titles that are $3 and $4 and some even $5 each. Anybody who wants to collect each and every title that is involved in Heroic Age, I believe Heroic Age is going to be like DC Comics' Brightest Day, a clusterfuck of tons of comic books that are going to make it impossible for people who would like to jump into comic books, who would like to start with comic books. It is going to make it almost impossible for them to get into a comic book because everything is going to be conjoined with everything else. Like I said, you got the 2 Avenger titles, then you got the roster book that's coming out. I believe that's a one-shot of all the Avenger teams that have been going on since way back when, to Dark Avengers to present-day Heroic Age Avengers. Then you have the Heroic Age comic coming out. Then you have the Age of Heroes comic coming out. Then you have, well, no, nothing's going on with Thor. I was going to say Thor. There are too many comic books. Oh, Deadpool. Then you have the Deadpool Corps coming out. Marvel Comics is making more titles than they're going to be able to sell. The comic book buyer community, the fandom community, is not going to be able to afford all these new titles that are coming out. You're talking about a good $200-300 a month for comic books just to keep up with what's going on in the universe. Like I said, my review, I am not a millionaire. If I was a millionaire, believe me, I'd buy every single title under the sun. I'm not. So you guys are not going to be seeing a lot of Heroic Age on my comic book reviews also. It's not that I don't want to review them, it's the fact that I can't afford all these new titles that are coming out. And I'm sure everyone else out there that buys comic books can't afford them either. You got to understand, kids who are getting into comic books, teenagers who don't have jobs and have an allowance, are not going to be able to afford these comic books. I remember when I started comic books when I was a young kid, I had a $20 budget, and that was it. Once I passed that $20 mark, whatever I didn't buy, I didn't buy. And no offense, these comic books alone cost more than $20. Okay? Because the comic books are not cheap anymore. You've got $3.99 stamped on all your comic books, and any reboot comic book is $3.99 to $4.99. You're not going to make sales. This is bad business. If I was Marvel and DC, I would really consider cutting all these events down. 2010 is going to be a very bad year, at least for Marvel and DC, because they're doing too many big events, and no one is going to be able to afford all the titles that are tied into Second Coming, Heroic Age, Brightest Day, which didn't even start yet, and I already have a feeling it's going to suck. Superman is going, well, thank God, at least Superman are being smart. They're keeping him in his comic books. There are 2 short, limited 4-part series coming out in May for Superman, which is War of the Supermen, and then that's over, and then we go into Superman Brainiac. But it's too much money. Marvel and DC has to realize that its fan community cannot afford all these ridiculous new titles that they're throwing out, especially at $4 and $5 price tags. I'm sorry, we just can't do that. And before I forget, also two minor announcements. This is all the way at the end of 2010. DC has released two teasers. Not teasers, two things that will be coming out first will be Superman, new Krypton figure line. For those of you who are interested in the DC, I was going to say DC Select, DC Universe figures, that's DC Direct figures, and a prop that you guys might actually see me get because I'm in the market for the other prop, the Sinestro Lantern and, well, Sinestro Core Lantern and Ring prop. That will be the JLA Trophy Room prop. I'm in the market for the Green Lantern, Lantern and Ring as we speak, but that's October. The figures and the Lantern are in October. But getting off that and going back to comics, I am going to agree with Pete in Pete's Basement. For those of you who watch Pete's Basement, you already know what I'm talking about. For those of you who don't or who aren't really interested, just watch this week's episode, at least. I think you should be watching all their episodes because they're awesome guys. They pick the best comics to review. They have the best advice. Hell, Pete told me, Pete suggested, he didn't tell me personally, he suggested Thor. I picked up Thor. I loved it. We both agree, we all agree that Blackest Night is great. We're on Pete, they have good advice. If you would like to get more into detail with advice, I'd be watching them. But watch this week's episode of Pete's Basement. 2010 is going to be the worst year for comic books, and I have to agree with one thing. Spider-Man. If Pete's prediction is true, and this bullshit, since One More Day, if Spider-Man really is Ben Reilly, and Peter Parker is off somewhere living with Mary Jane, having their baby, their new baby, I'm done. I am done with Spider-Man. I will hang my Spider-Man comic collection up, and I will auction it off on eBay. I will be officially done with Spider-Man if that's what they're doing. Because Pete made a good point. Why are they bringing Ben Reilly up all of a sudden again? They tried to bury Ben Reilly years ago. Now they're bringing him up like crazy. I'm starting to question Spider-Man. But that's if Pete's prediction is true. I wish I could give you guys a good title to jump onto, but there are very few titles that are jump-on friendly anymore because DC and Marvel are doing so many. I mean, this isn't a big event. This is an X-Men big event. But they are doing so many events within their books that it's hard to say, yeah, grab Uncanny because if you pick up an Uncanny to get the next part of the story, you got to pick up X-Force. And if you don't want X-Force, you're not going to get the next part of the story. And I believe, Wolverine and Wolverine Origins and Dark Wolverine's having another crossover going on between Wolverine and Daken after Siege. Too much. Marvel and DC are doing too many big events. Well, DC has one big event that's just clusterfucking everything else. But Marvel, you're doing too many big events in 1 year. You should be separating this out. First of all, I'm not a big fan of the second coming of X-Men. But this Heroic Age, you're pushing it too much. Okay, we understand it's the Heroic Age. It doesn't need its own comic book. But we'll see how this goes. I will continue to get as many titles as I can, and only titles I enjoy, of course. But it's going to be hard to review all the titles when they're bringing out 30 and 50 and 60 books a month now. But I will continue to do the comic books that I always do. I'll try to get my hands on a few new ones. Like I said, a few will come, a few will go. But 2010 looks like a very bad year for comic books. So far, don't quote me, things could get better. Knock on wood, things do get better. But the way they're looking, I don't know. But for right now, Blackest Night and Siege are really great stories. I would absolutely suggest them. Keep an eye on my reviews. I will continue to tell you the comics to and not to get. Check out Pete's Basement. They are awesome. Awesome website. They know what they're talking about too when it comes to comic books. And next week will be a lot more than this, thank you God. There will be a couple more great titles. We got Doom War starting up. So I will catch you guys back here next week for my next comic book review. I hope you enjoy the new feature where I can upload all my episodes in one big part. Hopefully you don't get bored and fast forward all the way to the end. Okay, guys, I will catch you. I apologize for my long rant, but I just think that too much is going on in DC and Marvel, and they need to chill back a little and cut their prices. Or if they're not going to cut their prices, cut their output, because it's just too much for us comic collectors, for our pockets. And with that, I will catch you guys next week. I am parched. Alright, guys. See you next week.